Ever wish you could, like, remember names like a politician? Or learn new languages crazy fast? Just totally dominate trivia night.
Who doesn't, right?
Yeah, for real. So today we're diving into that world, the world of memory, how it actually works, its limits, and if we can, like, hack it to remember, well, anything.
And get this, we've got the ultimate guide for this.
Yeah.
Joshua Foer's Moonwalking with Einstein. This guy, he went from just a regular guy to, get this, a memory champion. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's wild. I always thought those memory champs were just, I don't know, born with like photographic memory, some superpower. But he actually says that's not true.
Yeah, he totally debunks that myth. And you're not the only one who thinks that way. Turns out even the most extreme cases of recall, like this woman named Elizabeth, they're all kind of debated.
Wait, Elizabeth, what did she do?
She could supposedly, like, fuse random dot patterns together.
Fuse dot patterns? What does that even, like, she'd see one, then another, and her brain would make a 3D image or something.
That was what they were saying. Pretty out there.
Totally.
But the science behind it is still kind of iffy. And Moonwalking with Einstein, it suggests that even if some people are wired differently, it's not the whole picture,
So it's not just about, like, being born a genius. There's hope for the rest of us.
Absolutely. And that's where S comes in. He's this guy who has studied because he had this really amazing memory.
Okay.
And we're not talking like remembering your shopping list here.
Yeah.
This was like entire conversations, word for word, decades later.
Okay, that sounds more like photographic memory. But something tells me there's a catch. Having all that stuff in your brain doesn't sound that fun, actually.
You're totally right. See, he had this thing called synesthesia. Basically, it's where your senses get all mixed up.
Okay.
Like imagine reading the word ocean, but you don't just picture it. You can taste the salt, feel the waves,
Oh, that's intense.
Yeah.
I get overwhelmed just thinking about it.
Exactly. And while it might sound kind of cool, imagine that with everything.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Tess, he had trouble holding down a job. Even understanding abstract ideas, just too much input all the time.
So this amazing memory, it was actually kind of a burden for him.
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of sad, actually. It really makes you think. What's the right amount to remember, Is there even such a thing as too much?
That's the million-dollar question,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And it's one of the things that makes Moonwalking with Einstein so interesting. It makes you really rethink how you see memory.
For sure. Usually we think of a good memory as like a superpower, but S really turns that on its head.
Totally. And that leads us to one of the coolest parts of the book, the memory palace. It's this ancient technique that even S used. And it turns out it's not magic. It's just strategy. It's like, imagine, instead of just trying to remember your grocery list, you're walking through your house, right? And you're putting each thing in this totally crazy spot. Like milk jugs are overflowing in your bathtub.
Oh.
Or a giant loaf of bread, like blocking your front door.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, that does sound kind of fun. But is our memory for places really that much better?
It really is. Our brains, they're wired for spatial reasoning. It's how we make sense of the world,
Right.
And we can use that for memory, too. And get this. Memory champions, they actually use this technique on purpose. That's how they do those crazy memory things.
So S, with his crazy memory, even he had a system.
Exactly. And that's what's so cool about it. It's like maybe, just maybe, we can train our brains to remember way more than we think we can.
Okay, I'm listening, but I gotta be honest. I'm still a little skeptical. I can barely remember where I put my keys, let alone a whole grocery list in a memory palace.
I hear you. And Moonwalking with Einstein gets that. It doesn't just tell you about this ancient technique and like expect you to be a pro. It breaks down another big thing, chunking.
Chunking? Is that like breaking stuff down into smaller bits? Isn't that just, common sense?
Well, yeah, kinda. But there's a real art to it. Think about phone numbers, right?
Okay.
We chunk them up. Area code, the next 3, then the last 4. It's easier than just remembering 10 random numbers,
Yeah, that's true. I never thought of it like that.
And here's the really cool part. Expertise in anything from chess to like coding, even chicken sexing. It all uses chunking.
Hold on. Did you just say chicken sexing?
Yep.
Like figuring out if a baby chick is male or female? How is that even related to memory?
Sounds crazy, right? But stick with me. These professional chicken sexers, they can just glance at a chick, just born, and tell if it's male or female, like instantly. They've been doing it so long, they just see these patterns.
So they don't just see a jumble of feathers. They see, like, what, I don't even know, tiny chick differences, I guess.
It's pretty amazing, right? But the thing is, Those patterns, they're chunks. It's like their brains have learned to recognize these big pieces of information without even thinking about it.
And they don't even know how they know.
Exactly. It's like when you first learn to drive, you're thinking about everything. But then you do it enough, you don't even have to think about it, right?
Right.
Memory works a lot like that. And the best part, our brains, they're always rewiring themselves based on what we're learning. Neuroplasticity, it's called.
Okay, neuroplasticity. That sounds important, but break it down for me.
So we used to think that our brains, like, stop changing that much after a certain age.
Yeah.
Totally wrong. Turns out our brains are super adaptable. Like, did you know that London taxi drivers, the ones who have to memorize all those streets, they actually have a bigger hippocampus than you or me?
Wait, really? The memorizing actually changes their brains?
It's true. But, I mean, I'm not training to be a memory champ or a London cabbie. How does this help me? Well, that's the cool part. We might not all want to memorize a deck of cards in, like, 5 seconds.
Right.
But the ideas behind it, like building these mental maps, chunking things up, using our memory for places, we can use those for anything.
So even if I don't want to memorize a deck of cards, this stuff can help me learn a new language or remember names at a party.
Exactly. It's not about just cramming information in there. It's about training your mind to really pay attention, to be present.
Okay, this is starting to feel less like memory and more like, I don't know, superpowers or something.
I like how you think. But one thing Moonwalking with Einstein really drives home is that memory, it's not just about storing stuff. It shapes how we understand the world,
Yeah.
even who we are as people, right?
Wow. Okay, so if our memories are that powerful, if they shape how we see things, how do we make sure we're using that power the right way?
Now that is a fantastic question. And it's something Moonwalking with Einstein really makes you think about. If we can choose what we remember, could that help us live a better life?
That's amazing, really. It's like we can choose which parts of our own story we want to hold on to and which ones we maybe want to, let fade away.
Yeah, exactly. And like we were talking about with S, it's all about finding the right balance.
Hmm.
We got to be able to filter stuff out so we don't get totally overloaded.
So it's not just about remembering more, it's about remembering better. Being choosy, right?
Totally. And that's something we all got to figure out how to do that for ourselves. But one thing Moonwalking with Einstein gets into is that our memories, they aren't always as accurate as we think.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We tend to think of our memories like, I don't know, like a video recording or something. But maybe they're more like those old VHS tapes, a little blurry sometimes.
Totally. The book makes this point that our memories, they're actually kind of fragile. You could even like trick people into remembering stuff that never even happened.
Wait, seriously, you mean I can't even trust my own brain?
Well, it's not quite that bad. Think of it like this. Every time we remember something, we're actually sort of rebuilding it a little bit. And sometimes, we might accidentally change a detail or two.
So our brains are like master editors, even if we don't realize it.
Yeah, kind of.
Mhm.
It's kind of wild when you think about it. But it also means we got to double check our memories sometimes.
Right. Compare them to notes we took or photos, or even ask someone else who was there.
Right. Exactly. We have to be more active about how we remember, not just take our brain's word for it.
Moonwalking with Einstein really makes you think, huh, we have this incredible ability to remember, but are we even using it right?
It definitely makes you see things differently, that's for sure. Memory isn't just this passive thing that happens to us. It's something we can actually get better at. We can train it.
I started this whole thing a little unsure, like memorizing cards is cool and all, but how's it going to help me? But this book really opened my eyes. Memory, it's not just for storing facts, it's about how we experience the world.
Exactly. It's about, like, what makes us human, right?
Totally. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Moonwalking with Einstein, I want to leave you with something to think about. If we can train ourselves to remember more, can we also train ourselves to forget better? Can we let go of the stuff that's holding us back? I think it's worth exploring, don't you?